In the 19th and early 20th centuries, the wealthiest capitalist industrialists and monopoly financiers actively funded the very street-level socialist revolutions designed to destroy them. Liberal bankers in Cologne provided the primary capital for the earliest socialist papers, edited by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Decades later, elite Wall Street syndicates injected massive infrastructure support into the Bolshevik regime immediately following the 1917 Russian Revolution. In his historical analysis, The Milner-Fabian Conspiracy, Ioan Ratiu identifies this financial revolutionary alliance as a calculated strategy for total societal management. Ratiu's thesis rests on a functional reality. Monopoly capitalism and state socialism share identical operational requirements. Both systems rely on the absolute elimination of open market competition and the establishment of total centralized control over labor and resources. Measured, analytical. Because both systems require the absolute removal of sovereign independent competition, their collaboration becomes a structural necessity. The monopolist and the state socialist are building the exact same machine. A traditional free market operates as a decentralized network. Numerous independent, sovereign actors trade openly, distributing power and capital across a wide horizontal web. Monopoly capitalism breaks this web. Wealth and power consolidate upward, funneled to a few financial controllers at the apex. State socialism mirrors this structure. It relies on absolute state-controlled mass production, military-style labor organization, and centralized economic planning. Comprehensive top-down state planning functions as a shield for monopolists. By converting an entire economy into a single state syndicate, the financial elite are permanently protected from the unpredictability of market competition. To achieve this shared architecture of total centralization, this elite alliance utilizes two distinct engineered methods to capture a sovereign state. Because absolute control cannot grow organically within a free society, the alliance relies on dismantling existing sovereign states using precise formulas of subversion. The first strategy detailed by Ratiu is the Marxist parallel revolution, an explosive two-stage mechanism of violent state capture. Karl Marx codified this strategic blueprint in a secret 1850 circular to the Communist League, detailing how a small group could hijack a national revolution. The strategy starts with a conservative monarchy at the top, liberal capitalists below, and a socialist vanguard at the bottom. The vanguard allies with the liberals to overthrow the monarchy, then turns its weapons on its allies, purging them to secure absolute dictatorial control. This method relies on a tiny, unelected clique seizing the executive levers of power. Once in control, they rule as the self-appointed executive committee of the masses. To execute this, the vanguard must arm itself and organize a shadow government in parallel to the official administration, ready to strike the moment the old order collapses. The parallel revolution utilizes democratic alliances as a battering ram to destroy the old order, only to discard democracy entirely once the target state is captured. By the early 20th century, this theoretical model of a parallel revolution was exported from Western Europe to the East. Vladimir Lenin applied this two-stage method in the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution, leveraging liberal support to topple the Tsar before crushing those same liberals to consolidate power. To fulfill the second phase of Marxist strategy, Lenin deployed a new secret police force, the Cheka, to violently eliminate the middle class and any political opposition. Lenin's deputy, Leon Trotsky, defined state terror as a mandatory, permanent tool required to maintain their newly centralized power structure against the indigenous population. The parallel revolution is effective at destroying an old order, but its reliance on overt violence and terror makes it highly visible. For stable Western democracies, the alliance developed a more subtle approach. In late 19th century London, following the failure of Marxist theory to organically ignite a revolution in the West, a strategic pivot occurred. Founded in 1884, the Fabian Society developed a gradualist approach to state capture, named after the Roman general Fabius, who defeated his enemies through slow, patient attrition. George Bernard Shaw and Sidney and Beatrice Webb served as the primary engineers of this new operational doctrine. They defined their core operational strategy as permeation. It avoids direct electoral confrontation, instead altering the host from the inside out, spreading influence through institutional nodes until the entire cluster is transformed. The Fabians called their tactical mechanism wire pulling. They manipulated government policy by quietly placing loyalists in bureaucratic, advisory, and civil service roles behind the scenes. This method targeted academic institutions specifically. By founding schools like the London School of Economics, the Fabians ensured they were directly training the next generation of societal managers. Fabian permeation acts as a bureaucratic parasite, capturing the state apparatus invisibly by working through the very institutions it seeks to control. The permeation strategy allowed socialist objectives to be pursued through ostensibly capitalist or liberal political parties. Fabians frequently ran for office as liberals to mask their ultimate goals. Eventually, the movement engineered the creation of the British Labour Party, providing an intentional political front to move Fabian objectives into enforceable parliamentary legislation. To make extreme centralization palatable to the public, they packaged these policies as the public good, administrative efficiency, or social justice. This strategy adapts to contemporary politics. Tony Blair's New Labour movement served as a modern manifestation of Fabian permeation, pushing state centralization beneath a market-friendly exterior. The historical alliance between socialist objectives and high finance remains active today through ongoing collaboration between top-tier Fabian politicians and leading global investment banks. Lord Peter Mandelson demonstrates this fluidity, moving back and forth between senior roles in socialist state governance and international high finance. Whether using Marx's explosive coup or the Fabians' slow permeation, the objective remains the same: moving decision-making power away from the voting public and into the hands of an unelected elite. Once national institutions are captured via permeation or revolution, the newly centralized state apparatus begins to dismantle the structural constraints of the nation-state itself. According to Ratiu's framework, a sovereign nation-state is held up by 4 distinct pillars of identity: territorial, ethnic, cultural, and religious boundaries. To transition toward a global system of governance, the permeated state must systematically erode these 4 pillars. Territorial boundaries are diluted first. A nation's physical and legal borders are surrendered through mandatory integration into regional economic systems and binding international treaties. Simultaneously, ethnic and cultural boundaries are eroded from the top down. The state promotes mass immigration and multicultural policies to dissolve the remaining pillars of national cohesion. Ratiu frames these demographic and cultural shifts as deliberate levers pulled by a permeated state apparatus to weaken the host nation's resistance to centralized authority. By destroying the definitive boundaries of a nation, the population is left fractured. This engineered chaos creates a vacuum, requiring a new, larger supranational authority to step in and manage the resulting instability. As the nation-state is dismantled from within, modern supranational structures emerge to fill the power void. The United Nations serves as the premier vehicle for this new architecture. Its founding members included an alliance of socialist regimes and liberal capitalist states, continuing the century-long partnership. These regional and global bodies act as centralized funnels, removing governance from local populations and placing it with elite shadow groups. We can now see how the violent vanguard of Marxism and the stealth wire-pulling of Fabianism converge on the exact same endpoint: an architecture of total global centralization. The ultimate warning of the text is that monopoly finance and state socialism have spent over a century patiently building this global structure. All these modern geopolitical shifts represent the exact output of a mechanically precise, century-long application of strategic subversion.